Привет, fan of photography, and welcome to another episode about classic cameras and classic photo gear. In today's segment, we're going to be focusing on another beautiful classic camera. It just came today. It's still in its mailing packaging, so we're going to open that up and see what kind of beauty hides inside that bag. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Fresh from the post office, still wet, it's raining outside, but inside my darkroom, sun is shining because this beauty just arrived. It came all the way from Matushka, Russia. As you can see, it's got the authentic Pochta Rasi stamp, and it came from an eBay seller. And you know this came from overseas because of the multitude of post stamps. So let's open it up and see what's inside. And inside is a little box, taped up real good. Let's see if we can get to it. And here it comes. Inside a box is something wrapped in those foam protective thing. Very nicely packed, very nicely protected. Thank you, eBay seller. Oh, here it comes. It's something small. Dun dun dun, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Smena 2. Looks pretty good. Let's take a closer look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Soviet Smena 2. It was produced by a company called Gomos, which was the abbreviation of Государственные механические optical завод. I can't pronounce it, but it translates to State Mechanical and Optical Factory. It was produced in abundant numbers. There were over 1,500,000 units made. Smena means young generation in Russian, and it was marketed to the public. It was a cheap backlight camera or plastic camera, and there were several versions of this. There was a Smena 1, Smena 2, all the way to Smena 8. I made a video many years ago on Smena 8, which unfortunately gave up the ghost soon after that. I have better hopes for this guy. Let's take a look at the features of this camera. There aren't many. It's a type of viewfinder camera or rangefinder camera, but it doesn't have a rangefinder built in. So focusing is just So focusing is based on guessing the distance. You have a viewfinder window, which gives you rough framing. You of course have parallax going on, but you can correct for that quite easily. It has a cold shoe for an accessory, perhaps a rangefinder. On top of the camera there's counter dial and film advance. In front of the camera you have the lens, obviously. You you have the viewfinder, and you have the nameplate. Now, this one has central shutter, and the focusing is done by moving the front portion of the lens. Unlike the later models, which was Smena 8, 8M, this one doesn't have those fancy pictograms on it. So it means that the scale is in meters and ranges from 1.3 to infinity. Lens is a simple triplet proprietary lens, Gomos lens, and it's 40mm lens, 4 centimeter lens with aperture of 4.5. Not the greatest, but since it was marketed for the public, you can take great pictures with this little camera with a bright sunlight. Some publications tell me that this camera should have self-timer. Now I'm looking at it. There's a slot here, but I'm not sure if my lens was taken apart and cleaned. Therefore the self-timer was removed because it wasn't functioning properly. On the side of the lens barrel you have socket for your shutter release, and then you have your shutter release, manual shutter release lever. On top of the barrel you can see the shutter speeds ranging from B to 2/50th of a second, or 200th of a second rather, going through 10, 25th, 50th, 100th. Some articles I read, they say that this lever here is actually a shutter release. Now also they say that this is a release for your counter. So I'm not sure what to make out of it, but I know for a fact that with Smena 8 my shutter release was on top of it, and this one could be disconnected, the linkage could be disconnected, or it's actually a release for the film advance. So before you can actually advance to the next frame, you press this button and you advance it. Now to cock the shutter, you have the lever on top of the barrel. Just pull it until it clicks, and then you hit this little knurled star shaped lever to release the shutter. Beautiful, beautiful sound. On the bottom of the camera you have nothing else but a 3/8 16 tripod mount. I'm not sure if they had 1/4 bushing in it originally. Some cameras did, some cameras didn't. This one doesn't seem to have one. I'm not sure why you would use it on a tripod unless you want to take self-portraits, but then again you don't have your self-timer unless you use long extension cord. To open this beauty you have the little button with an arrow pointing down on the right side of the camera. So you simply push it down. Ugh. Come on. There you go. It needed some persuasion. And the door hatch opens. It's not a hinged hatch. It's a 2-piece hatch. It's got a pressure plate here. And inside there's nothing fancy. Just basically hollow piece. There's nothing in here. Let me engage the shutter for you. There you go. That was 1/50th of a second. Again, ladies and gentlemen, not the fanciest camera in the world, but back then in the 50s, for mass production, for masses, this was something anybody could use. It was like a Kodak of a time. Anybody could use it, and anybody could take pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the overview of this not so exciting camera. But it still is a piece of photographic history that belongs on the shelf among other beauties. And right behind me is a whole selection of Soviet cameras, and this guy is gonna go right here, right behind him. So until next time, keep shooting film, keep the film alive.